Okay, so we've set things up locally. Now, how do we move stuff from our local environment up onto a website? We talked about web hosting before and what is web hosting and how do you get it. And I mentioned in that lesson that I mentioned some way that you can upload files, which was through this thing called cPanel, which is fairly common. It's probably what you're going to run into when you're working on your first website, your first domain and hosting. And this thing called the file manager, which opens up a thing like this. And then we can upload files. So now let's actually do this. I'm gonna have this thing projects, then in that we're gonna call, we have to go here, folder, and I'm gonna call it, let's see, GIS course. Okay, we have this thing called GIS course. Now I can double click on that and go to upload. Okay, now I have to find out where's those files. Here they are, local files. Okay, so now I'm gonna take these and just drag them. And it says, oh, it's a folder. Okay, so the HTML uploaded just fine. If we come back and reload, the about and the HTML, the HTML are there, but we have to make another folder, CSS, okay, and we have to make another folder, JS. Okay, then we have to go into this one, upload. And go into the other one and upload. Okay, and now our thing is all here. So now I know that this is on, like let's see here, it has here what the URL is. So it would be at project/GIS course. So if I go now to victortemprano.com/project/GIS course, oh, it opens and it works. Okay, so this is actually on the internet now. Like you can go to this URL and this thing will be there because I uploaded it onto my website through this file manager. Now that was kind of clunky. Like I had to make these folders, upload individually. Now if I made a change, right? Like if I made a change here in my JavaScript and made it so it says console log, yo, then save that. Now I'd have to go back to my cPanel, click on the JS, maybe delete this, probably delete this and then upload a new one. Probably if I upload a new one, it would say something like, it's already there. So we'd delete it, we'd upload a new one, we'd go back to the page and we reload and it would hopefully update all just fine. But I want to show you a better way to upload these kinds of files because chances are at the very start, again, you're not going to be working with the really complicated types of technologies that are used to host files. There's things like through this thing called GitHub, which we'll talk about in the next lesson. There's stuff through GitHub. There's stuff through AWS, Amazon Web Services. There's complicated things to do with Node.js and processes. And there's all these complicated ways to do this sort of stuff. A file manager, and FTP or SFTP that we're going to look at in a second here are kind of like the most basic starting points, I think. I find them probably to be the easiest for like a really basic project, and they're going to do you just fine for many, many, many types of websites. I still use them regularly, even for more complicated stuff. So what is FTP? Well, first of all, FTP or SFTP is just a word for it to be like secure FTP, is just a way that you can like look at the file system like this of a server, of a computer that's like of a server like your web server, your web host, and just easily upload files and download files back and forth between them. Kind of like this file manager, but without having to have this whole interface. So a really common program that's used for this is called FileZilla. This is free as well. You can see here, it's checking for updates before I drag it in. FileZilla, right up here, FileZilla. And that's a good one. It's fine. It looks a little complicated what we're looking at right now. But the basic idea here is that on the left-hand side is my computer, and on the right-hand side is the remote computer or the web host or whatever I'm dealing with. Okay, so how do we use FileZilla? Obviously, it's a bit of a complicated looking program here. There's lots of crap going on. Okay, up here, this little icon, this is where we're going to open a site manager and be able to connect to different websites. So if I click this, you can see I have a whole ton of sites here, different sites I've worked on over the years. I've added them. So we're going to add, I already have this particular site, this victortemprano.com added. You can see it's right down here. But how did I get this information. Okay, so what I did was in my cPanel here, if I look around, there's this thing called FTP accounts. Okay, I can go to that, click on FTP accounts. It tells me I already have a couple made, but if I want to make a new one, I just give it a name like, let's say FTP, or probably that's taken, so like uploader at victortemprano.com. That's what it will just give me. Then I give a password, and I have to make sure here that I don't set it to go into this directory it tries to give me. Instead, I would delete that and make sure it's just at the public HTML. So that's just like at the root of our host or whatever. And then the quota unlimited, no problem. You press create FTP account. And then just make sure you remember uploader at and the password that you have. Now you can go into FileZilla, and you're basically going to tell it to go ftp.yourdomain.com. So it doesn't actually say that down here, but if we go to this thing says configure FTP client, and it gives me some information, but it's basically ftp dot whatever your domain name is .com or whatever, and then you put in the username that we just made, uploader at victortemprano.com, and the password, whatever you made the password, and then if we press OK, it should try to connect. Okay, so now it's trying to connect. Is it actually trying to connect? We'll just try this again here. There, okay, now it's trying to connect. It gives me this unknown certificate thing. No big deal, just press OK, and okay, we're in. Now this looks just like it did in our file manager. If we go back to the public HTML, here we are, Moodle projects, some different stuff, and there it is. It's looking the same. So now on my own computer, I have to go find out where I want to be on the left-hand side. So I go back and I'm in Teach, and I know where this is just because I know my file layout or whatever. And here we are, local files. So then I go in here, it was in projects that we made it, GIS course. Okay, so now if I want to upload, if I make a change and I want to upload something, I can quickly just delete the whole thing here, and it will just quickly delete everything. And I could just then re-upload everything at once, and it will just re-upload. Or if I just want to upload one file, if I make a change to index.html and I upload it, it'll tell me, are you sure you want to overwrite? And I'll overwrite, and it'll just upload it. And we'll see here that the code is still up here, but we made that change. So that's basically how you use FTP. And you can see it's a little easier than having to go into this file manager every time. You can just make a change, upload it, it'll go online, and then it's online right away. And like I said, this is a bit of an old school way to do things. This isn't you're going to be your most modern. Once you've done web development for some time, you're probably not going to use this a great deal, maybe just for new ideas or quick ideas that you're throwing up there for clients or whatever. But it's a really good place to start, so you don't have to get like knee deep in some super complicated other technology and learn a ton of other stuff in order to do this. Now, just some best practices is that sometimes uploading this way can be dangerous. You end up maybe downloading the latest version from your computer and it overwrites your local one, which you were working on, and now you lost it, right? So there's some dangers here. There's also, if you upload something and it's broken because you didn't test it well enough, it will just instantly break your site. So sometimes it's really helpful to have like a staging folder. So I could say, let's make a new directory and we'll call it GIS course testing or staging, which is another common term. And then I could upload my files in there. And that way I have like a special kind of sub area that I go test everything first. And once I'm sure that it actually works because I tested it, then I upload it into the main area of the site. That's a really good practice to do. The only other kind of site that you're going to run into or that you might be using is something like a WordPress site, which, if you can go and do stuff with FTP, but it's much more complicated. So WordPress isn't really much of a substitute for this sort of stuff. You can upload custom JavaScript and CSS and HTML in WordPress, but it's a little bit of a different beast. So we're not going to be using WordPress in this tutorial, but it is a good option for making a simple website. Just this kind of stuff that we're doing with the HTML, JS, CSS needs a little bit of tweaking before you can easily upload files to a WordPress site. So for the most part, we're just sticking with some basic HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And now we have a local setup. We have the ability to upload files to our host, our web host, if we set that up. We know a bit about HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We're going to do one more little lesson on how to save your code and kind of make sure you don't lose old versions and this sort of stuff, archiving it and saving it. Do one more lesson on that, and then we're finally into web maps. Yeah, we're almost there. So see you in the next one.